The one-room schoolhouse. It's hard to imagine a more iconic image, reminiscent of simpler days and of generations past. 100 years ago, the dawn of the Bloomington Public Schools really spelled the sunset of these humble institutions of learning that were spread throughout our township, as we moved to an even larger building built to meet the needs of the entire city. And yet, Bloomington's commitment to education began even earlier. Children's education was foremost in Bloomington pioneers' minds. Elementary school was conducted in private homes, individually and collectively, until the community could construct schoolhouses. Our founders knew the importance of a quality education. In 1849, Bloomington legislator Martin McLeod sponsored legislation requiring that every child in Minnesota should attend school. Bloomington's first school was the Dakota Mission School, established around 1843 beside Reverend Gideon Pond's mission house, which still stands on the bluffs of the Minnesota River. This school served children of indigenous people as well as newly arrived settlers. Formal school programs started in 1859 with the development of county school districts and construction of the first one-room schoolhouse in Bloomington, the Gibson School at France and Old Shakopee Road. Over the next 50 years, 6 more one-room schoolhouses were built: Kate's, Bloomington Ferry, Kell, Poplar Bridge, Kimball, and Bush Lake. In 1917, just before the U.S. entered World War I, these 7 one-room schools were merged into the Bloomington Consolidated School District. At that point, students who sought a high school education enrolled in the Minneapolis schools and either boarded with Minneapolis families or made the daily trek by buggy or via the Dan Patch Railroad. In 1918, a single school to serve grades 1 through 12 for students from throughout the community was built near Penn and Old Shakopee Road. At that time, high school-aged boys stayed home to work on the farms. So, the first graduating class, 6 students, were all girls. This historic event marked the beginning of Bloomington's secondary education. Transportation to school depended on the weather. When snow halted the school buses, horse-drawn sleighs did the job.
We desire to make this school an institution such that in it every pupil will learn as much as possible. We further that this be accomplished under the same conditions as to teachers, expenditure of money, and location of school, as is the case in any school in the state.
Bloomington was not spared the hardship that gripped the nation in the 1930s.
My mom always packed a lunch in newspaper or a bag. If I could bring out my sandwich and it had some kind of meat or lettuce in it, and if it was boughten bread, that was a big deal. Bread was a dime a loaf, but my folks didn't have a dime to buy that loaf of bread. My dad was working for $1 a day.
I don't think anybody resented. When someone had more than you did, I guess they were probably helping you out, so you didn't resent what they were saying. One way or another, it must have been a hard life. It was harder for the parents than it was for the children.
As the nation recovered from the economic strain of the Great Depression of the 1930s, World War II began in Europe. Scores of Bloomington grads enlisted to serve their country.
We graduated on June 3rd. That night, everybody went to the dance here in this very building. And the next morning, we were all at Fort Snelling, all the boys, and we were either in the Army, Navy, or Marines, and that was it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Bloomington's school enrollment grew gradually until post-World War II veterans came marching home. By 1947, construction of low-cost, suburban housing for growing families spread across America, including, of course, Bloomington. As Bloomington's population of young families boomed in the early 50s, school construction could not keep pace. Due to tremendous enrollment growth and competition for best teachers, Bloomington was forced to split student schedules, so some students attended school in the morning and others in the afternoon. The growing community understood that their children needed good education, and they voted for bonds to build 21 elementary schools. School construction began in earnest with Cedar Crest opening in 1950, Riverside in 52, Westwood in 54, Valley View in 56, and Humboldt Heights in 58.
When I came to Bloomington, Dr. Bernard Larson was the superintendent, and his office was at Westwood School. And when my friend and I came from Bismarck Mandan School System for an interview, there were gravel roads up to Westwood School, and there were horses from the Masonic farm. My salary was like $49 a month. I was rich. That was a tremendous salary. The experienced teachers got anywhere between $51 and $52 per month, all depending on the experience you had.
After a construction breather, in 1960, voters approved bonds for Creekside, Indian Mounds, Southwood, Washburn, and Park. Children kept coming, so in 1962, voters said yes to Brookside, 9 Mile, Northgate, Poplar Bridge, and Ridgeview.
It was chaos for a while because 5 schools opened the year I came, 5 elementary schools, and believe me, it was harum-scarum. People were running all over the place. However, the one good thing was they were able to get rid of the, as we called it, shift education, where you had 2 shifts a day in these schools.
In 63, voters approved Hillcrest, River Ridge, F. Wilson Pond. In 67, they voted yes for Oak Grove and Olson, and in 68, approved funds for Normandale Hills. Of course, secondary education was a necessary next step. Voters said yes to 4 junior high schools: Portland in 1959, Penn in 62, and Hubert Olson in 67. Oak Grove opened in 1969, making national news with an innovative physical layout and instructional models.
All across the country, change is sweeping through the schools. Some welcome it, some don't. In Bloomington, just south of Minneapolis, there's a school that is as far into the new education as any we know. It's Oak Grove Junior High, a brand new $4.5 million building halfway through its first year. Designed to accommodate all kinds of innovations, it's impressive, it's highly functional, but by mutual agreement, what's important is what goes on inside. What goes on is almost everything educators have been thinking about. What doesn't go on is what educators would like to forget. Long ago, they knew clothing had no relationship to learning, so there's no dress code here. The emphasis is on freedom. Educators have known for some time that real learning is discovery, not memory. A teacher's job here is largely concerned with creating conditions where discovery can happen.
It was new, and they had a modular scheduling program there. There was a lot of things that sounded good, but it was very difficult to implement with junior high school students. They weren't at that stage, maturity stage, where they could handle any free time.
Our growing city added 3 high schools. Bloomington High School, later renamed for Abraham Lincoln, was the state's largest high school when it opened in 1957. In 1965, John F. Kennedy High School was built, honoring our recently slain president, and in 1970, Thomas Jefferson was built to support the innovative concept of modular scheduling. Some people say that what goes up must come down. Many suburban school districts felt the pain of declining student enrollment and loss of faculty and staff in the 1970s and 80s. Sadly, but surely, declining enrollment led to the closing and selling of 11 elementary schools.
I was there when Northgate closed. I remember the days when we would pack up all the textbooks and everything else in boxes. This was after work. Parents would come in and help. It was a community, it was a family effort.
Likewise, Portland Junior High closed in 1979, Penn in 83, and Oak Grove in 87. Bloomington's first high school, Lincoln High, concluded the trend by closing in 1982.
I don't think there was any question that when Lincoln closed, that was a big hit for the school district. And I talked to kids. I knew a lot of kids from Lincoln. See, I had been working there. And I just talked with them about it. And they said, okay, now what do we do? What sports can we play? Can we be cheerleaders? Or are they going to have all the cheerleaders? Or how is it going to work? It took about 3-4 years for the real sores to heal. And then it got better. I don't think I could ever be in another community of 85,000 people where you had as much cooperation as there was in this school district.
As times have changed, so have Bloomington's innovative educational programs grown to meet the needs of our increasingly diverse students. Bloomington continues to explore and deliver a wide range of world-class educational opportunities to each student. The list of educational opportunities Bloomington has spearheaded in recent years is impressive. Bloomington Schools founded one of the first online schools in Minnesota. Bloomington Schools spearheaded an alternative school at the Mall of America and a variety of innovative options for students who are working on their GED. Our hard work in the 60s to bring Normandale Community College to our city continues to pay dividends as we team with the college to offer coursework that deliver dual high school and college credit. Dimensions Academy serves gifted and talented students. Bloomington College and Career Academies operate at Hennepin Technical and Normandale Colleges. Achievement, academic growth, and college readiness, no matter a child's background or abilities, stands as our goal for all students. We don't know the future of our community any more than did those farmers 100 years ago, or the post-war generations that now call Bloomington home. But the century-long history lesson of the Bloomington Public Schools teaches us to continue to keep learning from the past so that together we can build a bright future for each of our over 10,000 students.